Hello, friends. It is the Kirkpatrick Podcast. Welcome back. And my name is Vanessa Alzate, if we had not had the pleasure of meeting yet. So I want to spend today talking about this word that's going through a lot of organizations right now, particularly in the government. We hear it a lot. We talk about it a lot. And that is mission critical. So I've shared in other episodes, I was at a conference the last 2 days at the time of this filming, not when this actually airs, and, hearing a lot of their challenges with the current environment, and the fact that there's this word that gets tossed around a lot, which is mission critical. And what is mission critical? And so for a lot of organizations and stakeholders, they feel like learning and training often is not mission critical. And I wanted to really have an open and honest dialogue about this because I took a little bit of a spicy take, maybe not spicy for the stakeholders that say this, not spicy for our community because we really believe this. The fact that learning is the first thing to go in most organizations is absurd to me. We just did an episode on disruption. During times of disruption, right? Economy is falling. You did not produce as well as you thought you would on a new widget you thought, was going to sell out, right? Or you had a new drug that was supposed to go to market. You're in life sciences and it, didn't perform. And so now you've got your projections are all off. So you got to cut back, right? All of these things happen. This happens in real life. And what do? They pull back on training people. We are undervaluing what everyone needs in order to navigate this disruption. And we assume that we can just bring people along, or these rock star performers are going to be the ones that save the day. And that's why we pump more money into sales, because on the outside, they are the ones that bring in the money. However, there is a whole bunch of other things and other people that are part of that process that are behind the scenes players. And we reduce our ability to impact our workforce and their and help to build their capability. And then what happens is, if you're listening, you don't see the visuals of my hands. My hands are going wild because there's up and down, and I'm from Jersey, so we talk with our hands. So times go down, we reduce our workforce, we reduce our learning function. The sales team, or whatever we do to bring back, the economy comes in and people are spending again, whatever it is, right? Administration changes. They decide to pump more money into the agencies. They then hire everyone back again. But now you're so busy because all this innovation is happening. We're fulfilling orders. You're doing all these things. You don't actually get to do the things of workforce that to build a capable workforce and to help navigate times of disruption. We never learn from the past. We just keep moving forward as if the past just didn't happen. But if we all look at everything, right? Everything is a cycle, right? You've got highs and you've got lows. You're going to have, what is the terms? Bear economies and bull economies. I think those are the terms. These things always happen, right? You have a Republican president, you have a Democratic president. Those things are going to shift back and forth, right? The amount of time that it changes, but at the end of the day, things are going to change, which means their priorities are going to change. All of these things happen. And what we do is we pretend the last however many years, or the last year didn't just happen, and we're just going to rehire and try to move forward instead of taking a pause and saying okay, we need to avoid that happening again. And one way that we can do that is by investing more in our workforce so that they can, during times of, you know, the upswing and when things are going really, really well, they're already preparing for the time that it's not going to go well, right? Is that saying like plan to fail, like fail to plan or something like that? That's definitely not it. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's like if you plan for failure, you'll be more successful than if you just never plan for failure. And what'll happen is if you don't plan, you're just going to fail. And so organizations do this all the time. And this is where we never get out of this like mood of being like reactive versus proactive. So when I think about what is mission critical, it is investing in our people. We actually should be investing more in our people during times of disruption because they've got to have the capacity or capability to help get us out of it. There is not one person that turns around an entire organization. Like even like Tim Cook and like Jeff Bezos and all these organizations, all of these great, entrepreneurs that have built these huge companies, they don't do it on themselves. I am turning around Kirkpatrick right now into a new generation, into a new era. I'm not doing it alone. I've got a team. I've got support. There will be because we're manifesting this, when, Kirkpatrick is, at its next level, no pun intended on the 4 levels, it will not be just because of Vanessa. It will be because of the team I have behind me that help to execute on my vision, right? And so when we think about mission critical and all of those things, we've got to really think about how are we really learning from our mistakes right now? How are we really learning from our these downtimes, right? So that we can avoid so much disruption. We can just navigate it a little bit better in the future. The other big challenge that I have to training not being mission critical is, especially in certain, I think that I came from a world in which training wasn't necessarily the type of training that I was working on, that I was always exposed to, was not mission critical always, right? A lot of the work I did was in software, in CRM, and half the time I was building these e-learns, and I'm sure a lot of these people could just jump in and figure it out for themselves. That's how a lot of us learn technology these days. A lot of trial and error, right? No one needed a tutorial on ChatGPT. We just jumped in and figured it out. And some things we went to YouTube for help when we needed it, and sometimes we just kept fumbling. So that was a lot of the training I was exposed to. So I'd be like, look, none of us are doing anything that are life or death until we are working with organizations that have training that actually is life or death. And that, is one of the beautiful things that I've been exposed to is really working with folks to create learning experiences that matter and that save people's lives. Whether it's, the Oregon Child Abuse Solutions Group, that help to ensure, don't outcry, Vanessa, you already did this at the summit, help to ensure that children are safe, whether it's working with our military, making sure, our military men and women are safe, there's just, and thus us, right? Whether we're talking about folks that, doctors that work in hospitals and that are keeping their patients safe, there is mission critical training. And when we pull back our learning staff and we try to siphon it off to subject matter experts or people that just should be able to train you on this, it causes, you don't just take a step back, you take 10 steps back. And we don't invest in things I think now with even our economy and where we are as a country compared to other countries, right? And AI development and all of these things, we're behind because we never invested in staying ahead. right? We rest it often. I'm going to put a disclaimer here. This is like a lot bigger of a conversation, and I'm not like getting into the politics of it all. I'm just saying that when you do not invest in the future, when you have a time of disruption, you slide back 10. And now you're not just trying to catch up to where you should be. You're trying to catch up 2 steps ahead. Here is I think for Kirkpatrick, right? Like one of the things is I think that we should have been working on technology sooner than we have. So I feel like I'm coming in and I'm making some adjustments, and it's not just I'm not just trying to be meet today. I'm trying to catch up from so many years behind, plus try to get ahead. And so that's what I think we don't treat training as mission critical. We do the exact same thing. We never catch up. We never meet our workforce. We're always reactive. I'm thinking about Gen Alpha, which is my kids coming into the workforce. What kind of workforce do they want to see? And it's not about wanting to see, but what do they expect to see because of the world that we are raising them in. If we're raising them in an entrepreneurial world, you can do whatever you want, when you come up to a challenge, you figure out how to work around it. Mommy will save you from all challenges. That's not true. Not in my house anyway. Mommy will not save you. You got to figure it out for yourself. I will save you sometimes, but not always. I am not the one to call the school. My kid does not do well. I'll tell you that. My kid just needs to study more. But anyway, I raised my kids like it's 1986. Thank you. But anyway, these sorts of things is what we have to look at. Imagine your 14-year-old or your 12-year-old coming into an organization, your organization today. That is the trajectory in which we are headed. We are literally headed into a situation where we're not learning. We're not actively really thinking outside of the box when it comes to how we function as an organization, how we, are organized, how we seek ideas, who we seek ideas from. And so we're headed into a time in which people are just gonna say, you know what, I'm good. If I don't like what we're doing here and I feel like I can't be heard, and you're trying to put me in a round, a square, what is it, a square peg, and I'm a round peg and a square hole or something like that. It's not gonna vibe. It's not gonna fly. I'm gonna go do it myself. Over here, I'm gonna build a company. An LLC basically costs nothing. Go do it myself. And I can innovate faster. And it's going to crush our organizations. So guess what? Training is mission critical. Investing in your people is mission critical, because your mission is not just about how many widgets you sell. Your mission is about the people that get you there, that help you achieve that mission. No mission gets achieved without people behind it. But those people need to be the right people, and they need to have the right skills. And you're not going to get everybody off the street with those skills. You are going to have to invest in your people. And when you invest in your people, you create a community where people don't leave. They just don't. They just don't. I look at organizations that I was just talking about them yesterday. The home remodeling company that I used to work for. There are people working there that have been there since I was there. And I haven't been there since 2014 was when I left. And I started around 2011, I think. And they started a year after me. So we're talking about, it's 2025, 13 years later, they're still there. And they're younger than me. That's actually unheard of. But why? Because they realize the only way to become the top home remodeler for window siding and roofing and doors in this nation was to invest in your people. And so that's what they do. Spend a lot of money on it. A lot. Does it mean they haven't faced adversity? No. I mean, they went through COVID just like the rest of us. Their salespeople have to go in other people's homes, So like, I'm sure there was tons of disruption during that time that they had to navigate. They didn't do it with a huge layoff, from what I understand. Maybe there was. I'm sure there was some, but not nearly as I think that we would have predicted. And part of it is because their people were able to innovate and invest and become scrappy on the fly. We've got to take the playbook from more organizations like that. Training is mission critical. Well, I should say this. Training isn't mission critical. Performance is. And the only way you learn to perform is you got to learn. Training is mission critical. Performance is. You need to perform. The company needs to perform. And you need your people to perform. Everyone has to be at peak performance in order to navigate these tough times. Are there learning experiences that are optional? Yeah, sure. Cut those. Don't cut the entire department. Do not cut the entire department, assuming that you're just going to hire them back later. You've lost a year or more. And know that you cannot replace folks with AI. You can replace tasks, but we've got to get to a point where we understand that there still has to be a human part of it, and we can streamline, but there's not a case for which there is no human that's part of this entire process. So, friends, I just wanted to have a moment to reflect on this with you all, and to give this call. Performance is mission critical, and we've got to start funding opportunities for people to learn how to perform. And they're not going to pick it up just through reading books and consulting YouTube or consuming free content. We've got to get people to consume content and act. The only way to do that is to have accountability, to have a community. How many conferences do we go to that we listen to a lot of great things, but put none of it into action? I'm going to leave it on that because I could go into a whole nother dialogue on conferences and their structure. I'll leave that for another conversation. But friends, thank you so much for listening. I'd love for you all to reflect in the comments, or please share on LinkedIn with me, what for you is mission critical when you think about your learning experiences, your learning and performance journeys. What for you all is mission critical, and how do you advocate for it? How do you share that with your stakeholders? We need to learn from each other. And I need to learn from you all because I'm not in doing it day to day. And I know that I could learn a lot from you. Friends, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.